Hello and welcome to this Profit Protector Pro video. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be looking at a couple of common selling scenarios and how exactly to adapt to them, what exactly to expect and how to potentially solve them. So there's a range of various scenarios that you're going to come across when selling on Amazon. So what we're going to do is I've written down the 5 most common ones in my experience. We're going to talk about how to work around them, how to deal with them, and so forth. So we're going to start with number 1, when there is no buy box. So if there isn't a buy box on that Amazon listing for whatever reason, it might be suppressed. So if you're not familiar with what a suppressed buy box is, that's basically where the buy box is removed from that listing on Amazon. So the add to basket and buy now options are no longer there. And in order to make a sale on that listing, we need to rely on the customer coming to us and choosing us individually to buy from. When there is no buy box, what do you do? Now, there's not really a whole lot that you can do in the respect that Amazon will place the buy box back on that listing, when they see fit. We don't know when that's going to happen. It will just pop back up on that listing. But what do we do in terms of repricing? So when we set our min and max prices, we need to look at the range of prices that the other sellers have got on that listing, and we need to remain competitive with them. So look at that range and use that to help us, use that as a guideline to help us set our minimum and maximum prices. If we are using the auto min and maximums and we base that sum off of the buy box, it won't work because obviously there's no buy box on that listing. So it's got nothing to base itself off of in order to then work out the min and max prices. So for those ones, if we are using auto min and max rules, we may need to set these manually or adjust our rule, whatever you want to do. In terms of the strategy to set an aggressive strategy, okay? These will compete effectively with your other competitors on the listing, and as soon as the buy box is back, they are the most reactive, the most competitive strategies. So as soon as the buy box is back, it's going to snap into action and scoop up that buy box. So when there is no buy box, sensible minimum and maximum parameters based on the sort of range that you're seeing on that listing and setting an aggressive strategy. Okay, so scenario number 2, getting undercut. If you find that you're consistently getting undercut, then there might be something that you're able to do about this on your side. So number 1, look at the strategy. Okay, this is probably the main thing to do. So if you're looking to no longer get undercut, if you're looking to compete with whoever it is that keeps doing that to you, and the best thing to do is look at your strategy. So if you're using the hybrid profit harvester or one of the other profit focused strategies, then obviously they're not going to undercut. That's not what they're about. So what you want to do in this scenario is use a more aggressive strategy. So use the super aggressive dominator or the aggressive sales generator or the merchant fulfilled variants of those if you are an FBM seller or if you are fulfilling that particular item yourself. Set an aggressive strategy because these will go just underneath the buy box and they'll also compete with your main competitors on the listing in order to secure it for you. So yes, it may undercut those, but where they'll undercut you and they'll just keep undercutting to basically tank that listing, Profit Protector Pro will scoop it up from just underneath that seller, from just underneath the buy box, and then it's going to work to raise that price up. Remember, Profit Protector Pro is not like any other repricer, so it won't follow the buy box down, it won't follow these other sellers down. If it does undercut, that is because it's then trying to scoop up that buy box in order to bump the price back up again. It will never tank the listing. The whole reason why Profit Protector Pro exists is to secure you more sales and more profit. So it'll always work to bump that price up as best as it can. So if it does undercut, this will be a strategic move in order to secure the buy box for you, in order to effectively compete with your competitors, stop this constant undercutting and work to raise that price back up. So use an aggressive strategy. If the buy box goes outside your parameters, so if that happens, you'll notice that Profit Protector Pro will sit at your minimum or your maximum, as that is as close as it can be to that price without going outside your parameters. Profit Protector Pro will never ever reprice outside the parameters that you set. If the buy box price moves outside your parameters, you need to readjust them in order to remain competitive on that listing. If it goes below your minimum to a point whereby if you adjust your minimum any more, you'll be making a loss or potentially sell at your break even, then really all you can do is, obviously you still want to make money on that listing. You can't really move that minimum down any further. Again, you don't want to make a loss, so you don't want to sell for your break even. So in that case, it's just a case of having a little bit of patience, and hopefully the tide turns on that listing and it moves that price back up. You could lower your minimum, yes, and in the hopes that Profit Protect Pro again scoops up that buy box and works to move it upwards. But the minimum should always be a price that you're happy to sell at. So yes, whilst it may well achieve its goal of winning that buy box and moving it up, there may be a period of time where you're selling for that minimum price that you've set, that new minimum price, whereby it could be for your break even or for a loss. So in a way, there is a risk there. But keeping your minimum as it is ensures that you're not going to be selling for that loss or for your break even, and hopefully something changes on the listing and it all moves back into place. On the other side of things, if it is above your maximum, just adjust your maximum price to accommodate for that buy box. And that's a great thing because it means that there's even more profit potential on that listing. So all you need to do is make some readjustments. If Amazon are not allocating the buy box to us, now that is something that unfortunately we cannot help, as at the end of the day, how the buy box moves, who it's allocated to, is completely down to Amazon. Okay, we can do all of the things that we believe are going to increase our chances of winning the buy box. So things like setting a competitive price. Obviously, the help of Profit Protect Pro having a repricer on your side is going to be a massive thing. Having good, getting good feedback, good dispatch times, and so forth. Generally, having good Amazon account out of all the things that we know we need to do in order to increase our chances of winning the buy box. At the end of the day, Amazon will allocate it to who they allocate it to. They'll share it around and rotate it in what way they see fit. At the end of the day, it's down to them. If Amazon aren't allocating us the buy box for now, all we can really do is ensure that we have got sensible minimum and maximum parameters. Probably use an aggressive strategy, because in this case, we'll probably want to look to compete with our main competitors on the listing in order to put us into a more appealing position, in hopes that it drives sales our way through customers choosing us individually. And when Amazon decide that they're going to allocate the buy box round again, using an aggressive strategy ensures that it's going to be the most reactive to that change on the listing. And of course, it's just a case of having patience in that scenario, and something will change at some point. So don't lose faith. Something will happen on that listing, and then the buy box will be allocated round to you. This kind of relates to the next scenario. So if there's not much repricing movement, if you're looking at the history and you're seeing that you are remaining at like the same price, or you're looking at it and thinking, hold on a minute, why isn't Profit Protect Pro moving down? The scenario that I'm thinking of when I wrote this down is basically one that I've seen a number of times. So consider the listing itself. Okay, so in this scenario, I'm thinking of listings whereby I've seen that there's, say, 12 FBA sellers. They've all got a very similar price on that listing. Maybe a number of them have the same price, and those that have a slightly different price, it's only, say, like pennies, like a few pennies difference, a few cents difference. All FBA, similar pricing, similar stock levels. Everyone is going to have more or less an equal chance of winning the buy box, because they're all nearly just as competitive. So in this scenario, where Profit Protect Pro is remaining at the same current price, this is actually helping you out. Now, if Profit Protect Pro was to undercut, everyone else is going to then hop on that as well. So then someone's going to undercut someone else, someone's going to undercut someone else, and it could potentially topple the listing price for a time. Of course, Profit Protect Pro does what it says on the tin. It will always work to bump that price back up. But for a period of time, it could start a bit of a downward spiral, and obviously that's not what Profit Protect Pro is going to do. So it's just not going to do that. It's not going to potentially start something like that. What it's going to do is remain at that current price, because in this scenario, it's a case again of being patient and waiting for Amazon to allocate the buy box round to you. In this scenario, because everyone is in with a fairly equal chance, everyone is pretty much just as competitive as the next seller on. Everyone will have their shot with the buy box. Okay, so it will rotate around to you at some point. In that case, Profit Protector Pro will then, grab that buy box and then potentially work to bump that price up, which is great because then that will raise the overall pricing on the listing, because then hopefully then it triggers a chain reaction of people then moving their price up along with you. And so then the overall pricing on the listing changes and it goes up, which is amazing. But until that point, it's going to remain at the same current price. It's not going to start a potential like topple downwards. Even if that only lasts for a limited time, it's just not going to do that. It's not in Profit Protector Pro's nature. So where you've got sellers like that, where your listing looks like that, where you've got competitors set up like that, use an aggressive strategy, because again, that's the most reactive. And if anything changes on that listing, if someone else decides to change something, you'll be in the best position in order to then scoop that buy box up. And yeah, it's just a case of being patient, waiting for the buy box to fall to you. Everyone will have their turn with it. So you'll have it for a time and move on to the next person and so forth, and it will keep moving around like that. Also, for a number of these scenarios as well, please also check that your strategy will compete with FBM. So for example, with getting undercut, if it is an FBM seller that's constantly undercutting you as an FBA seller, make sure your strategy competes with FBM. So for example, if you're using the dynamic profit builder, it's not going to compete with FBM. If they are consistently undercutting you, then using the aggressive strategies or the balanced one is going to help you out big time, because what they'll do is, whilst they won't compete with any old FBM seller on that listing, where you have someone that is constantly undercutting you and they are a prominent presence on that listing, it will then compete with them. Same with any other scenario. It'll only compete with FBM where absolutely necessary, where you're using an aggressive strategy or the balance size accumulator. So those are a range of common selling scenarios that you will probably come across, and basically how to deal with them. Hopefully this video was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you soon.